Weird teddy bears. A strange recurring thing I've noticed is that in the closet of Pamela's father is that there's a mummified teddy bear, and a lot probably knows it's just a funny little weird detail, but something that may have just been added in the 3DS version, I'll have to recheck, is that in the Swordsmith building, there's also a weird, like, zombified teddy bear, and yeah, I don't know what the deal with this is. Ikana statues creatures. A small one to say just that in the entrance towards Ikana, as well as probably other places within there, is that the statues have a lot of art designs of them with a bunch of unrecognizable creatures, and yeah, we just don't really know anything about this, and I've never heard it pointed out. Great Fairy of Kindness. So the Great Fairies in this game all have a theme or name to them, and there's power, wisdom, and courage as you expect for Zelda. The first one that you see in Clock Tower is the Great Fairy of Magic. That doesn't really line up, but it's like, whatever, you don't really think about it, it makes sense. It's the first one you see, you won't question it, and the Great Fairies always give you magic powers, so yeah. But then there's the Great Fairy of Kindness, and that feels more in line with like the Triforce nouns, but that isn't one of them, and we've never really heard like kindness be interpreted as a thing like this in the Zelda franchise before. Like, usually if there's a fourth thing, it's typically like time or something, so yeah, this is just like a weird, like, niche intriguing mystery to the game. No one seems to realize what actually happened to Macau. This is something that always bothered me, and I'm surprised I've never really heard it talked about. So, with the other transformation characters, like Darmani, the Gorons at least know, like, hey, you're supposed to be dead, you're back, what's up? And with Macau, however, nobody seems to notice that, like, he passed away. Like, you show up as him, as Swear Link, and everybody's just like, oh, hey, Macau, what's up? Like, as if he just went out to, like, get groceries or something, and, like, at no point does anybody seem to realize, like, hey, wait a minute, and I don't know, it's just so dark, and it's just kind of, like, depressing, and it leaves a chill, like, when you think about this, and realize that it's pretty sad, and like, despite that, like, Link still shows up at the credits to play with them, even if that makes, like, hardly any sense. Link's counterpart. So, a lot of the residents of Hyrule have a terminal counterpart, you know that. However, something that's been discussed before is whether or not Link has a counterpart, and if you meet them. The two most common ones I've heard before are Tingle, which I kind of doubt because of how different he is, and Tingle appearing in, like, other things, such as Wind Waker. But then the other one that I hear the most about, which I subscribe much more to, is that Kafei is Link's counterpart. I mean, the obvious thing is that they directly, like, use each other's animations and models and stuff, and you actually control and play as Kafei for a bit. And I actually think this is the first time in the Zelda games, outside of the CDI stuff, where you actually control someone who isn't at all Link. But in Ocarina of Time, Link is forcibly transformed into an adult, while here, Kafei was unwillingly transformed into a child. And yeah, it's just like some interesting things that line up more as you think about it. Either that, or Link just doesn't have one. Characters without Hyrule counterparts. Speaking of, just another interesting thing is that while there's the counterparts, there are characters original to Majora's Mask, not just enemies, but regular NPCs who don't have a Hyrulean counterpart, and you have to wonder if they're somehow totally unique to Termina, or if you just never met their Hyrule counterpart in Ocarina, such as Pamela. Curiosity Shop Hidden Face. I have no idea how many people knew about this until it was in any Austin video on things you never looked at in Majora's Mask. By the way, I miss those era of his videos, they were the best. But anyways, there's that empty rectangular box in the shop, and if you go into first person view and look at it, then you'll see this freaking face greet you, and just, yeah, no idea, like, how it was put there. Like, someone stopped and took the time for whatever reason to put this face in there and create it, despite the limited development time, and I don't know, you can only say that it's in there because it's Majora, and they want to scare the friggin' pants out of some random kid who, for whatever reason, wins a first-person view, and surprise! sunrise casually happening during the final hours. Another detail that I heard pointed out in those videos is that in it, the N64 version, let's ignore 3DS, as you are approaching the crashing of the moon during like the final parts of it, like the last minute, you can see that the sky is brightening up and the sun is just casually coming up to start the next day, and this creates such a weird, subtle yet hard-hitting melancholic vibe of just like the actual apocalypse is happening, the moon is gonna crash down, that's what your main focus is. But in the background you just see the days casually coming by as if, and as the cycle always does, and there's just something about that, like, the world doesn't care, it doesn't mind, it's still just gonna do its thing. Like, yes, you're all gonna perish now in this horrible way, but the sun is still just gonna come up, and it's still gonna continue what it does, what's left of the planet afterwards, and it's just something to sit down to. Anyways, next is the last layer.